Thank you for joining. Today's the first time I noticed that the Zoom design has changed. In the past, in the top left corner, I had this button where I could switch from normal filtered audio to original audio, and I don't find the bottom anymore. Maybe I can search for it. Ah, there it is. There it is, but I only see it now when I'm recording. Strange. Maybe it's only possible when you're recording, or maybe I only have that option when I'm the co-host. That could also be. So next time I'm going to use the original audio because that makes the sound of the bell maybe a little bit better. How's the connection? My picture seems to be a little bit out of tune with my voice. Okay. So let me continue with Kodo Sawaki's To You. In the book version, we are on page 41. And the next quote basically continues from where I stopped 2 weeks ago. Once more, Sawaki Roshi is talking about the war. He participated in the war between Japan and Russia at the beginning of the 20th century. And Japan won that war. It was a big thing. But then at the end of the Second World War, Russia joined the war and they took a couple of small islands in the north. And about this, Sawaki Roshi says, everyone is talking about loyalty to the fatherland. The question is simply where this loyalty will take us. I too was completely convinced when I went to war against the Russians. But after our defeat, I realized that we had done something that we shouldn't have. In any case, it's better not to make war in the first place. And weeks ago he said, after losing the Second World War, we realized that we had only earned the hatred of the Russians. So I think that's the point that he wants to make here as well. As long as you think you're winning or you're actually winning, how do you say? You completely, how do you say? Well, you feel good. You feel good about being part of the war. You're protecting your fatherland and you're winning. The problem is, and we see that with the wars happening right now, for example, in Ukraine or in Israel, what does it really mean to win that war? Is it actually possible to win a war? For example, also the war on terror. As Buddhists have said for a long time, you will only create more hate with hate, even if you win a war. Like, for example, if you look at the Bible, Old Testament, we have all these tales of lost wars and won wars that are more than 2,000 years ago, and that still are used to build an identity. For example, also for Israel. But I could imagine that Arab people have the same tales. In the West, we have these tales. Putin is trying to justify his war by the history of the Russian Empire. So the problem is, even if we win a war, it will only help to justify the next war, which might then start from the other side. I even know families where, for example, people are told to never talk to their cousins again because their parents, so their uncles and aunts, they had a fight. Maybe the grandfather died. They were fighting about the inheritance, and now the grandsons are taught to never talk to their cousins again. Even in families, it works that way. So it seems that there's really no way to win a war in that way if you think about it long term. If you think about it long term, there is no way you can possibly win. In any case, it's better not to make war in the first place. Maybe so much from my side to this quote, and after Xuan-san's translation, I will go to the next.
刚刚老师读了一段儿，我简单的翻译一下，就是我们每个人都在讨论对祖国的忠诚，但是这个问题是，这些忠诚会把我们带到哪儿呢？当我们完全的说服自己的时候，就是当我们到战场上和苏联那个时候应该是苏联战争的时候，我们好像完全的说服了自己。但是当我们失败的时候，好像我们意识到了，我们到底究竟做了些什么呢？在很多的情况之下，其实我们最好是不应该在一开始就开始战争。然后这儿提到了战争，就是因为日本二战的时候失败了嘛。然后这个泽木老师他是参战的，泽木老师他就是写这本书的那个和尚，那个禅师，他参加了二战，然后他对战争他有很多的，其实他的很多的文章写的都是关于战争的，他的一些感触。然后我们真的可以赢一个战争吗？打仗的时候当然赢感觉是非常好的，但是其实战争的意义到底在哪儿呢？真的可以赢一场战争吗？那我们赢了这一场战争，只会为下一场战争好像有意义，其实好像又没有什么意义。就好像一个家庭当中，比如说祖父母去世了，兄弟会反目，那我们家庭中的战争是这样的，何况是国家之间的战争，所以其实是不可能赢得一场战争的。刚刚老师读到这儿。
The next one, the life and death of many depends on whether a single Stalin is born or not. And of course, Sawaki Roshi could have used a lot of examples here. For example, Adolf Hitler would be another example. The life and death of many depends on whether a single human being is born or not. Whether a single person is born or not makes a huge difference. That's why it's so significant that the one person, Shakyamuni, was born. So not only in a negative way can it make a huge difference, but also in a positive way. If Jesus wouldn't have been born, that would have made a huge difference. And I think the point that Sawaki Roshi wants to make here, but he doesn't say explicitly, the same is true for you. If you wouldn't have been born, maybe none of the others in this Zoom room here would have noticed. But it makes a difference for you. It should make a huge difference for you. And of course, we don't want to have an impact like Stalin or Hitler on this world. But we should realize that if you don't live this one day, there's nobody to replace you. Only you can live this one day. And if you really, how do you say, taste it to the full. And each single day, that means the 60, 70, 80 years that maybe you have in this life, and even if it's less. If you don't live this life, there's nobody who could possibly replace you. And none of us will probably be another Stalin or Hitler, and none of us will be another Jesus or another Shakyamuni. But if Joseph doesn't live Joseph, there's nobody to replace him. If Julian doesn't live, Julian. Nobody can replace him. It makes a huge difference if Xuan-san is Xuan or if she isn't. Maybe so much for this quote.
然后刚刚老师读了下面一段，就是生活，我很多人的生命或者死亡，其实只是依赖于这个人他的出生还有死亡。我们每一个独立的人呢，不管是出生还是死亡，其实好像都会有一个非常大的区别，但其实也是对这个独立的人的一个大的区别。这就是为什么我们一个人他的意义在哪儿，就好像释迦牟尼出生会有一个非常大的不一样的意义一样。这个老师就是写的有点隐晦啊。刚刚老师说，其实就好像这里面说的是，它里面提到了一个人名斯大林，他还提到了释迦牟尼，就是以他的生死来说的。那其实对我们就好像耶稣也是这样的，好像如果耶稣没有出生的话，会有很大的不同。我们都觉得好像这些有名的人，这些领导人，他的出生和死亡会有很大的不同。但是其实你对我们每个人个人来说，好像也是非常不同的。如果你没有出生，那不可能有人来代替你。就好像我们Zoom现在在座的各位啊，如果你没有出生的话，其实对我们其他人是没有影响的，除了你自己。所以我们应当意识到，如果你没有真正的感受和生活在你的生活当中，其实是没有意义的。所以其实是没有更少，或者说是即便你的生命很短暂，即便你活的日子非常短，但是如果你没有真正的活在你的生活当中的话，是没有人可以替代你的。大概是这样。
Thank you. Do you already have questions, things you would like to share, or should I do another quote? If you have questions, things you would like to ask or share, please raise your hand.
Yes.
Yes,
I
Werner,
would
please.
like to say
Yes, please.
something.
Yes.
On the beginning, you quote Sawaki, and you said something like war is never good because it creates a lot of hatred. Yeah? But I cannot agree when I think back to our German history. Yeah, we Germans who live now, we can be happy that the Americans were entering this war, and the French people and the people from Great Britain. Yeah, so they could defeat Hitler. Yeah, and this was good for the world. And also, we were occupied after the war from America. Freedom of speech. Yeah, we could read all the books what we want, and so I cannot. Yeah, I only can say sometimes war can be necessary.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. Everybody probably knows it's bad to start a war, but what shall you do if the war has already started? If you are attacked, how do you react to that? Oh. But again, it's difficult, and I think often wars have created even more wars. Like the example you mentioned, when Germany lost the war, it felt less than we lost that war, next time we have to win, but rather they liberated us from the Nazis. Although in the German case, it's also a complicated story. but often it's not like that. But again, I don't say that whenever you are attacked, just stay calm. Of course, when you get attacked, you want to protect yourself. But as I said in the beginning, like when you say, I'm not going to lose, I'm going to win, what does winning really mean? And in the case of the Americans having won the Second World War, it was done in a very intelligent way to create a minimum of hatred on the side of the Germans and also of the Japanese. Like when you ask the Japanese about their feelings towards the Americans, you will find hardly, if at all, any Japanese that says, I hate the Japanese for what they did. You don't even find hatred for the atom bombs that they dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. But those are really very rare examples in the history of war. Anything else you would like to ask or share?
Can I say something?
Yes, please.
One of the quotes that I think most people I think may know is that the first victim of a war is truth. Every war needs propaganda. No people wants to fight.
Mm-mm.
No people wants to fight. And most of the wars are mostly driven by. But the war needs to lie. You need to create an enemy, you created monsters, you have allies, you omit the voice of the opponent. It's happening now at the moment towards China. You have to create, you have to equalize. This is a process that takes 10 years to make a war. A war is not decided for tomorrow. It's not one event. It's something that creates false flag operations and so on and on and on. As the quote says, Stalin or Hitler or A, B, C, or D person. It's not about one person. I think, for me, I think we are just mythological beings. We carry with us the myths that we learn, that we assimilate along our life. And we carry not just what in the event of a war, what before the start of the war, we're vulnerable to the propaganda because we believe in the system, we believe in the media, we believe in the government. But after the war, the winner writes the history, and then the winner will tell it's true. And that doesn't necessarily mean that to be the truth. It is what it is. So what happened is that we carry all of this. We are just absorbing all this information and the myths that are telling. You need to justify. What it seems to me that's not stuff. We all learn from books, from history, from this and that, or from our parents. But if you go possibly to the deep of the information, you may find eventually a different history. But no one of us go, because then you'll be evaluated as well. You'll be told that you are this or that. There are lots of names coming to stop you to talk about in that direction. So what seems to me then, conclude that which I agree with Sawaki Roshi, said no war possibly is good, because it is definitely true is destroyed. Is we all go then through all this world of myths, all this media, this spinning, and we all grab that and try to make sense of that and agree and so on. I think I don't know how to respond to a question like you. I think if I understood when you mentioned before, like if you were attacked, I think the only thing I could hear was Robert or someone going to do something towards my. That's a question, difficult question, but possibly if you look at through the Buddhist point of view and through that how we deal with the world, it seems to me that if I practice harmony, if I practice construction, if I try to make everyone together and not as a nation separate, but also all one, I think possibly we undermine this sense, that the spirit of conquer, of one have more, one have less, and possibly then in the long term, in a more wider sense of the world, we then create what's a peaceful path for everyone. And then possibly supposed attack, or this little bug that lives in our head of threatening us that we are scared of, possibly wouldn't exist. This is just my thoughts. Not necessarily, I'm not creating a statement here, but it's just my thoughts. Yeah.
Thank you. It seems that my internet connection is not so good today, but thank you for sharing anyway. So, well, hopefully Zen helps us to have a, clear mind and not be swept away by our illusions. Julian is raising his hand. Julian, please.
I just think war is essentially bad storytelling, right? It's war is, if you go to that Sawaki quote about everything goes wrong when I first say I, everything after that is an illusion. I think this is the point, isn't it, from the Zen point of view, that as soon as we think there's a self that we have to dramatically defend, and therefore my family, my country, you end up with football fans screaming abuse at each other or worse. And I think it always comes back to this sense of storytelling and try, at least if we can diffuse that in ourselves. Do you know the artist Paul Reps? He made little picture poems, like haiku pictures. And he once did one that went, drinking a bowl of green tea, I stopped the war. And he was around Vietnam. And it was that sense that in that moment, it was all softened. That was my reflection. And the internet connection seems stable now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, drinking that bowl of tea. On the one hand, you could say that sometimes we create even more, how do you say, chaos by our trying to solve the problems of the world with our activism. On the other hand, also that can be this kind of drinking this cup of tea can be also an invitation to, how do you say, take refuge in meditating and forgetting about the outside world. So I think there's, how do you say, it's like a tight rope walk a little bit, like not doing too much of trying to, well, fighting for peace, but then also this drinking of tea. I don't know how Paul Reps meant it, but I've often heard that from people. I just have to sit down and then all of the human beings are already saved in this moment. Of course, they are saved for you because you just sit and concentrate on your breath. But
yeah, I think what he meant was not so much that, I'll retreat all and everything groovy. I think it was more the sense that it's only that storytelling that connects all the micro moments into this narrative of war and cause and effect. So beautiful. His work was so beautiful. There's a collection of it. I think it's called Zen Telegrams, and they are just like beautiful micro moments. He did brush drawing and a few words and hung them all and let them blur around. So anyway, sorry, I got carried away.
Thank you. What was, I think, Paul Reps, I only know one book. There's Zen in the title. Do you have an idea which one that could be? Zen?
Zen Telegram, I think it's called, or Zen Telegrams.
That's not the one I know, but well, probably has quite a lot. Yeah.
I think it was published by Tuttle for a while.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Okay.
Oh, there's also, oh no, don't worry, I've forgotten now. Sorry to interrupt. Thank you.
Anything else you would like to ask or share? No, then next time I come back to the Hanya Shingyo. Thank you for joining. Have a nice week. Thank you for Xuan for hosting us and translating. See you again. Stop.